all that work that you put into whipping that cream or whipping those eggs to get that nice fluffiness is going to be deflated, and it's going to be pretty much useless. The next one is toss. This is to tumble ingredients lightly together. So let's just say I'm making an apple pie and I cut up my apples, I sprinkle cinnamon sugar, and then what I do is I toss the apples in the cinnamon sugar so it coats everything. So I just lightly tumble all the ingredients together. So the next one we have is blend. And to blend is to thoroughly combine two or more ingredients into the mixture, making it uniform in appearance. So when we did our cookies that we did a couple of weeks ago, we blended together the butter and the sugar, and we blended it so that the butter and the sugar kind of became a nice fluffy appearance. But we mixed it, we combined it together so that it was uniform. Next is beat. This is a verb which means to mix ingredients vigorously, and we are introducing air into the mixture. Just like if you're beating eggs before you scramble them, you're not going to really whip the eggs because then you would actually be looking for peaks. So the difference between beating and whipping is whipping goes a little bit longer because you're looking for a final product that has changed in viscosity. It's a little bit more thicker. You either get the soft peaks or the hard peaks, or sorry, the stiff peaks. So that's what the difference between the two is. The preparation technique is to cream. This is what we did with the butter and the sugar. We cream them. We cream those ingredients, which means beat, shortening or fat, which can be butter, and sugar becomes light and it becomes fluffy. You're going to see this method used for a lot of baking because what it does, it breaks down, the sugar breaks down the butter into smaller fat globules so that it's incorporated throughout the mixture instead of having big chunks of butter or shortening in, your biscuit or your cookie dough. So it kind of distributes it around evenly, and it also gives air into the mixture as well, making it light and fluffy. Cut in. When we do our biscuits next week, we are going to be cutting in, which is to mix a solid fat with dry ingredients using a cutting motion. And you can use a pastry blender for that, or you can use 2 knives, a fork, or you even can use your fingers. So looking at page 468, figure 47.4, you can see some of these terms kind of laid out just like they are here. Now I did a live demonstration of how to separate eggs. The process of separating eggs, you are dividing the yolk from the whites. You will use the shell of an egg to be the separator, or you can use a device that's made specifically for separating an egg yolk. It's kind of a one-trick pony because that's the only thing it does in the entire kitchen. So you're not going to find a lot of people who own one of these, but they do have a tool that allows you to help you separate an egg. But the easiest method is just to crack it down the middle, gently pour it apart, pull the shell apart, and then rock the egg back and forth between the two shells until the yolk and the whites separate. You also want to remember you need 2 containers. You need a container so that the whites will fall into, and then you need a container to hold the yolks as well. Then we have breading. Breading is when we cover an item in a thin layer of, it could either be flour, it can be crumbs, it could be cornmeal, before either deep frying it or before baking it. Now here is a tip. When we are separating more than 1 egg, you actually want to have 3 bowls. One you're going to have is 1 to hold the whites, 1 to hold the yolks, and 1 to check your whites. So what you'll do is, as you're rocking that egg between the shell, the yolk and the whites separate, the whites fall into the 3rd bowl. You look, make sure there's no fat in that bowl because fat hinders the whipping action of egg whites. Once that is good, there's no broken yolk, you can pour that into the white pool of eggs so that you don't ruin all of your eggs. And so when we are working with multiple eggs in a recipe, you do want to take the time to get that third bowl. We call it the check bowl. Separate it, check it. If it's good, pour it into the correct bowls. That way you can keep stray bits of yolk from making the rest of the whites unusable.